Hello friends, I'm in Netherlands, a charming European nation nestled along the shores of the North Sea. Despite its modest size, smaller even than Costa Rica, the Netherlands boasts a population of over 17 million people. Remarkably, this compact Dutch territory doesn't hinder its global standing. In the 2022 rankings, the Netherlands claims the 5th spot for the happiest countries. It also secures the 9th position for education and life expectancy in the UN's Human Development Index for 2021, along with the 10th place for its democratic development, as highlighted in the report by the Economist Intelligence Unit. So, the Netherlands undoubtedly ranks among the top 10 most developed countries globally. Today, I'll be showing you how people live here and why they're so happy. It's worth noting that if you appreciate our work, you can support us. The best way is through a monthly Patreon subscription, especially if you have a non-Russian bank card. You can find all the links in the description. This enables us to continue creating exceptional content for you. The Netherlands is one of the world's most prosperous nations, where cycling is a way of life. Despite the heavy rain, you'll still spot mothers pedaling alongside their daughters, perhaps just picking them up from school. The girls aren't wearing coats. They're saving gas to put a dent in Putin's plans. A friend once called me and declared, "I've turned off the gas to stick it to Putin." I complained of the cold, to which he nonchalantly replied, "Just throw on a jumper."
Everybody in the Netherlands went in April.
But it's still cold outside.
Yeah, then you wear extra sweater.
While many may associate the Netherlands with its famed red light district and the coffee shops where marijuana is legally sold, but in fact the essence of life here revolves around joyful children. Do you have any other complaints? Perhaps being coerced into eating something you dislike? I don't eat broccoli, yet I'm often told that I have to eat it. Affluent adults. How many times have you fallen off these stairs? Well, you see the plaster on my arm. It is a test to see how Dutch you are. Return home intoxicated, first cycle through the streets and then climb up those stairs without falling down. Pass the test and you'll get your Dutch citizenship. And healthy pensioners.
We will go on traveling because traveling in Europe is easy, you know. So, for instance, we go to Bologna in Italy.
Today, I want to showcase the Netherlands not just as a tourist destination, but as a place to call home. We'll delve into the lives of young entrepreneurs, students, families with children and retirees, and discover what makes this small country extraordinary. Situated by the sea, Holland experiences mild winters and warm, rainy summers. Rainfall exceeds 130 days a year, yet the locals got used to it and barely bat an eyelid, unlike myself. I got caught in a downpour and sought shelter like any sane person would. But what's intriguing is the Dutch indifference to rain. As a mother cycles by with her daughters, perhaps picking them up from school, the children appear unfazed by the lack of coats or umbrellas. They simply carry on with their day, unperturbed by the weather. Here's a guy with an umbrella, but most people don't bother. Rain or shine, they go about their business undeterred. There is a large migrant population in the Netherlands. According to the Central Bureau of Statistics, over a quarter of residents were either born abroad or have immigrant parents. There are different ways of moving to the Netherlands. EU citizens can reside here hassle-free for 3 months before obtaining a citizen service number. This is EU in social security number and tax identification number. Others require a residence permit. Temporary residency options include work permits, study and internships visas, typically ranging from 3 months to a year. Additionally, there's the long-term residency permit, which extends up to 5 years, often pursued for employment purposes. To secure this long-term residency, one typically secures a job contract in the Netherlands and then applies for a corresponding visa. With a work visa, you can bring your spouse and children up to 18 years old to join you in the country. Alternatively, individuals may seek refugee status due to severe circumstances such as persecution or war in their home country. After residing in the Netherlands for 5 years, one can apply for permanent residency or citizenship. However, acquiring Dutch nationality comes with a caveat. Unlike many other countries, you must renounce all the other nationalities upon obtaining it. For example, if you come from Russia, you have to give up your Russian citizenship before obtaining a Dutch one. This can be a challenging decision for many. I had the opportunity to discuss life in Amsterdam with Artem, a Russian expatriate who initially came to study but ended up making the city his home. Hello, my name is Artem. I'm 33 years old. I've been residing in Amsterdam for 8 years now, and I've spent a total of 14 years in the Netherlands. Now I run a company here that specializes in data analysis and consulting. Back in Russia, I resided in Novosibirsk and pursued my studies at a local university. Upon completing my undergraduate degree, I decided to pivot towards further education in economics. As I explored options for further education, I came across numerous master's and postgraduate programs in Europe. Although I missed some application deadlines, I managed to submit applications to a couple of universities in the Netherlands. Eventually, I embarked on my master's degree journey at Maastricht University, a charming city nestled on the border with Belgium and Germany. Following my master's studies, I chose to pursue a PhD and immersed myself in the realm of science for several years. If you compare the Netherlands with Russia, what are the main differences in terms of everyday life? Just until recently, the main difference was that there weren't as many delivery services, but this has changed in the last couple of years. Now there are lots of supermarkets competing against each other. Every single day I have to kill at least one moth, and this is the battle I've had for the past 2 years. We've brainstormed various strategies to address the issue, but for the time being our only recourse is to hurl pillows and clothes at them. You're shutting the balcony, right? Despite the temperature hovering around 10 degrees Celsius. And that's okay for you? Yes, this is my preferred setting. I typically enjoy sleeping with the balcony open. It seems to enhance my relaxation. And by doing this, you feel like you're refusing to pay Putin for gas. That indeed is the most important thing about it. It is our collective stance against it. How many times have you found yourself tumbling down these stairs? You see this plaster? In Russia, they wouldn't construct such a staircase, even into a cellar. Once a dachshund lived here with me, and he was eager to return home. He took a tumble a couple of times, and my wife too had her share of faults. But that was ages ago. You're not married anymore after this. Nor do I have a dachshund. It's a test to see how Dutch you are. Return home intoxicated, first cycle through the streets, and then climb up those stairs without falling down. Pass the test and you'll get your Dutch citizenship. What's a typical workday like for you? You wake up and I wake up. Do you go to work every day? Yes, nearly every day. I rise in the morning and head straight for a coffee. Lately, I've also taken up running before I broke my arm. I spend the first hour or two either walking or jogging. Then I pop into a cafe to grab some coffee. Some mornings I have meetings around 9 a.m. Do you have an office? Currently, we don't have a physical office. We strive to conduct all our operations remotely. However, on Fridays, we rent an office in a co-working facility to meet face-to-face. It facilitates smoother meetings. The Netherlands stands as a modern and prosperous nation, ranking 17th in the terms of GDP. The country exports medicines, flowers and refined oil. Until recently, even crude oil from Russia was a part of the market here. Interestingly, the poverty rate in the Netherlands is slightly lower than that of Russia and France. Additionally, UN data and statistics affirm that children lead happy lives in this country. However, I opted not to solely rely on these numbers and sought first-hand insight into the lives of families with children. Hence, I caught up with my schoolmate Sasha, who relocated here 15 years ago. Hello, I'm Sasha, 37 years old, and I've called Amsterdam home for the past 15 years. I'm an entrepreneur, specializing in organizing courses on contemporary art and architecture. Married to Geza for 11 years, we're blessed with 2 delightful children, Boris, age 7, and Emma, age 6. So everything in generally is fine with you? Yes. Are you a happy child? Yes, mostly. I'd say I have my happy moments. When you misbehave and don't listen to your parents, how do they discipline you? Sometimes they simply ask me to sit on the stairs, or they talk to me sternly. Do they shout at you? No shouting, just firm words. And any other complaints? Are you ever forced to eat something you dislike? I don't like broccoli, but sometimes my parents insist that I have to eat it. They both do. Mom's forcing you to eat broccoli too? Children attend kindergarten for free, and families receive a child allowance. How much is the allowance? It's 1,320 euros per child per year. Everyone benefits from this child allowance. And here's an interesting tidbit. In the Netherlands, having children comes with its perks. Working parents with children under 12 are entitled to tax preferences. These benefits can be claimed through tax returns or applications, which are assessed by public entities. Upon approval, one parent's taxes and other payments are reduced. Furthermore, the state provides parents with an allowance to cover expenses, like clothing, food, and school supplies. For children under 17, parents receive between 230 and 329 euros once every 3 months. Compare this with benefits in your own country. Additionally, there's a children's budget scheme here. It offers financial support to low-income families based on the number and age of their children, as well as their parents' income. Entrepreneurs also receive supplementary payments. Starting a business in the Netherlands is straightforward. Tell me about how operating a business works here. Does the government help in any way? I've had experience opening a business in Russia, allowing me to draw comparisons. Here, administrative processes are swift. I have a limited company known as BV here. Registering it requires minimal effort, especially if you're self-employed. You can obtain your unique identification number by contacting the local Chamber of Commerce, and it literally takes like a day. Moreover, new businesses enjoy tax exemptions. If your earnings are below 100,000 euros in the first year, you don't need to pay taxes, or even the first couple of years. If you're operating as a BV or limited company, registration is facilitated through a notary, albeit taking a bit longer, usually a week or two. And there's a fee of approximately 1,000 euros to complete the registration process. Initially, establishing a business in the Netherlands is relatively straightforward. However, as the company grows, hiring an accountant becomes imperative, and that's where the challenge lies. That's one of the things we've not quite figured out yet. Finding a proactive accountant seems impossible. Most accountants adhere strictly to the tasks they're assigned. You inquire about tax optimization, they respond with a flat no. But when you stumble upon a scheme online and present it to them, suddenly it's feasible. And you're like, but I've asked you about it before. It's frustratingly difficult to find an accountant who anticipates your needs. What about the salaries here? Fresh graduates from university typically earn around 45,000 euros annually before taxes, translating to approximately 2,000 euros net. Or it can be around 2,500 euros. That's the starting salary. Salaries tend to increase thereafter, depending on the sector. In my experience, primarily with IT companies, mid or senior level specialists can earn anywhere from 70,000 to 100,000 euros annually, resulting in about 5,000 euros net. With a starting salary of 2,500 euros, it's quite feasible to live comfortably in Amsterdam. Of course, it depends on... Well, it's obvious that most of your earnings will go towards rent, depending on where you choose to live. When I first moved here, I started off in a room and gradually worked my way up to renting an apartment with amenities like a dishwasher, for instance. It's quite a journey. Additionally, until you're 27, Dutch society regards you as a young person and extends discounts accordingly. For instance, you can snag a budget-friendly subscription for classical and jazz concerts, the museum cards, granting unlimited museum visits, runs about 60 euros annually. Yet if you accumulate multiple subscriptions, they can become a significant part of your expenses. The average salary in the Netherlands sits at 4,700 euros per month. However, workers take home around 3,200 euros net due to substantial deductions for taxes, insurance and pension contributions. Speaking of which, the retirement age here is in a constant state of flux, tied to life expectancy. As life expectancy rises, So does the retirement age. Until recently, Dutch retired at 66 and 4 months, but since 2022, it has been raised to 66 and 7 months. I've talked about the lives of retirees in the Netherlands with a Dutch couple.
My name is Erik van Zuilen. I was born in Utrecht in 1943, so in the middle of the Second World War. I'm now 79 and I'm living with Joyce for more than 40 years already.
I am Joyce Roodnat. I was born in Amsterdam 1955 and I have worked as a cultural journalist, cultural critic at a newspaper, a nationwide newspaper that is called NRC since I was 24, and it always has been a very good newspaper, so I had the luck to start with the best newspaper of Holland, so I never had to move to another job because this was what I wanted. The newspaper that was very good. So I worked until yesterday with the newspaper. I'm 66, I have to retire. I didn't want to, but one has to retire to make space for younger colleagues. My pension will be, it consists of two parts. One that everybody gets. And it's from the state, and you have it already because I don't know yet.
Yes, I think now it's 800 for each,
euros.
So together it's 1600.
Yeah, but because I've worked always with the same company, one has a pension from the company for which one has paid all the working life. So, and that's 2/3 of the salary that one got when finishing the job. So it will be
3,000?
Yeah, around 3,000 euros a month.
3,000 is yours?
Yeah.
And 800?
Yes,
Yeah.
800 plus 200 from
the film school that
From
he
the film
that he
school.
taught.
So as I understand, the 800 is a minimum pension from
Yeah,
from
but
the
I
state.
get the 800 too.
Mhm.
Because
It's from the state and
yeah, that's from the
everybody gets that.
Everybody gets that, yes.
Yes, and when you living alone, you get 1,200.
Yeah.
Is it okay for living? Is it enough?
Well, it's not. One can get by, but it's not like luxury, not at all. One doesn't starve.
Erik and Joyce are both very creative individuals. They cherish many pieces of artwork that hold significant meaning for them.
I had my daughter painted when she was a girl, and my father was a photographer, and he knew a lot of painters, and I said I want to have her painted. Who shall I ask? And then he said, first you think of a painter that you think is very good, and after that you ask him. So you start with a painter. So this is a painter called Ger Meinema, and he painted her, and I think he did an extremely good job because she is 8 here and she already has the face that she now has. So he kind of predicted it. So I loved it very much. And of course I like this one. This is my husband Erik when he was a young boy, painted in a very revolutionary way. He was a rebel, and you can see that in his face you see that he wants to go away. He doesn't want to pose for this painting, he wants to run. That's why I like this one very much.
My father went to Greenland in 1932 because there was a study all over the world.
Your father was a physicist?
He was a physicist. It was a study of the Northern Lights, and they didn't know what it was. So they made a kind of observation post stage all around the world, and my father was in Greenland. And
he collected the art from the Greenlanders,
Yes.
so that's called a women's boat. So, but for
they
children they made it because in real life they're very big. But it's from the Inuit.
With these boats, they hunted the whales.
Yeah. So it's Erik inherited this art. I think it's very beautiful.
Let's talk about medical care here.
Okay. You want to see all the medicine we have to take? Put it on the table.
I have an insurance. It's a commercial insurance. I pay around 200 euros a month, and everything is covered then.
200 is only for yourself, or
It's for
is
me. It's for me.
So you also pay 200.
I also pay 200, yes.
Mhm.
And I have an extra for the gebit, the teeth care,
Mhm.
because I have often complicated things. She has a very good teeth, and I have more. Well, I was
Problematic.
born in the war, so
No, but that's true. He was born in the war, and
War,
when
yeah.
children were undernourished, so they now have bad teeth.
How good is medical care here? Because in Russia, people usually thought that here in Europe, doctors give you paracetamol from all disease, from all trouble. So you give
No,
only
that's not true.
paracetamol. Even when you're going to die, then they can help you.
No, that's not true. We good taken care of. Of course, sometimes they take mistakes. They have mistakes, and sometimes you have a kind of thing, and it takes years before.
Yeah, but
they
that's
discover it's
the
something
difficult
else than it
things.
is. But
Usually it's
generally-
very good. Like when and medicines are very good, and doctors are trained very well.
I talked about Dutch medicine with the others as well. What happened to your arm? I played football in the gym and now I have a plaster cast. With any accident, they put a cast on for 6 weeks. I've been in it for 2 or 3 weeks now. I hope they take it off soon. How much did it cost you to put it on? It didn't cost me anything, but I act responsibly towards the medical system in the Netherlands. Normally, migrants complain about it, saying that they prescribe paracetamol and recommend to rest until you get a leg cut off or something. But I visited a doctor twice in the 14 years I've been here. The second time was for my arm. It works like this. I pay 100 or 110 euros for insurance every month, so I have everything for free. The health insurance is compulsory for everyone. It costs about 100 euros a month, and with that you'll get all the services. Moreover, children under 18 years of age get it for free. That means that Boris and Emma are included in my insurance. For this, you receive any of the medicines and services you need for free. For example, I give birth in an excellent hospital completely free of charge. Any serious illness, such as cancer, is also included in the insurance. There is a relaxed atmosphere here and a very high quality of education. And schools and kindergartens are very accessible. That's why I think it's one of the best countries in the world to be a family with children. You can get into any school you want and it's completely free. A few months before your child has to go to school, you have to send a form to the town hall with a list of schools you want your children to enter. Do these schools have to be close by? You can include any number of schools, but people who live in a certain area will have a priority. They usually send you a list of schools in your district. It is a bit more complicated with kindergartens. Because in the Netherlands, there are no public kindergartens. All kindergartens are private. They cost about 7 to 8 euros per hour. So for 5 days a week, you pay about 1,500 euros a month. It is very expensive. But you pay this amount only if your family has enough income. The state gives a lot of benefits. If you were a single mother, it would be almost free. If you were a mother of a large family, there is a discount of more than 50% from the second child onwards. The third child goes to kindergarten practically free. You don't have to buy anything for school here, just a school bag. Every morning we prepare lunch boxes for the children and give them food to take with them. They're at school from 8:30 to 15 and they get all the materials there. Notebooks, pens, books, everything is given at the school. Yes, everything is provided by school, and until the age of 12, they don't have homework. What do you punish children for then? The Dutch believe that a child should have the possibility to play until the age of 12. They believe that this is their development, not homework. It is also interesting that school doesn't start on the 1st of September, as in Russia. But children go to school on the 1st of the month after their 4th birthday. Boris's birthday is in October, so he starts school on 1st November. So some start in January and others start in March? Yeah, that's right. There are new pupils all the time. You and I went to regular school in Moscow. Yes, in Tushino district, northern Moscow. Yes, it was a normal school, although the emphasis was on English, but nothing else was fancy about it. It wasn't a modern high school, it was an ordinary school. What is the main difference in education here compared to where we were taught? The main difference is the role of the teacher. For me, the teacher was always someone older, but I was always a bit afraid of them. But here the teacher is more like a friend. I spend 6 hours at school, but today I spend there 3 hours because it's a short day. Do you come home from school alone? Yes. At 7 years old? Yes. It's not like in Russia where you have to sit down at your desk. We get to do everything we want. How do you know what it's like in Russia? My mom told me. And in the Russian schools in Holland, the children are also just sitting. Hey, out of curiosity, do you fight at school? Sometimes, yes. What is the attitude towards the uniform here? They are very free about it. Boris once wanted to go to school with blue nails and green hair, and everyone was fine with that. What's more, we have carnival days at school when everyone dresses up. There are pajama days when everybody comes to school in pajamas. They bring croissants for breakfast and the teacher reads them stories. In schools, there are LGBTQ plus days where they explain what it is to them. From what age? Boris, have you talked about gays, about the rainbow flag? Yes. So it's from the age of 7. From the age of 7, and the parents aren't against it? No. Do they ask the teachers for money for presents here? Yes, they do. Oh. Yes. Good traditions came here along with migrants. We have a chat on WhatsApp where we share the news. I'm calm, we've not lost everything here. And exactly. And sometimes they write that the teacher has a birthday. Or it's Christmas and they collect money, but it's not compulsory. They propose a sum and nobody knows how much you give. In the Netherlands, children go to primary school at the age of 4 and study until they are 12. After that, they go to secondary school. The high school diploma influences further education. Educational institutions in the Netherlands are divided into 2 types. There are universities of applied sciences, where you can receive a professional career, and research universities where you can receive a doctorate. I talked about studying in Amsterdam with a student who graduated from a local university this year. My name is Sonia Koroleva. I'm 21 years old. I'm a student at the University of Amsterdam. In the last year of my bachelor's degree studying communication sciences. I was born in Krasnodar. I lived there until I was 7, then I moved to Vietnam. I lived in Vietnam most of my life, finished school there. In 2019, I entered university and moved here to Amsterdam. It's quite expensive to study here. A bachelor year costs 10,000 euros a year. They made a discount for the COVID year. it was 8,900. In addition, international students have trouble working here. To offer a simple job such as waiter, kitchen worker, hostess in a restaurant, to an international student, the employer will have to sort a lot of paperwork out and pay higher taxes than if they hire a Dutch employee.
Огромное количество документов, платить за него налоги больше, чем на обычного нидерландского сотрудника.
That is why an international student can only work as an intern. Also, you can work the whole week, 40 hours, while in a normal job, if you are hired, you can only work 16 hours per week.
Нежели чем как на обычной работе, если тебя все-таки по какому-то чуду возьмут, ты можешь работать только 16 часов в неделю. Стажироваться можно во время...
You can do an internship during the internship semester, or you can register your internship as an additional course. You said you studied here. Yes, I did master's degree and then a PhD here. What is the education system like here? It is quite similar. After school, the Dutch go on to do a bachelor's degree, so they are all the same age as us. Plus, there seems to be a kind of sense of excellence among those who graduate from university. Dutch students seem to have more rights. Regarding the organization of the study process, they can complain if the professor didn't deliver their course well enough, or if they didn't teach it well enough or gave unfair grades. I think this practice appeared in Russia since I left. Complaining about a professor? You can complain about a professor if they've said they're against the war. Then they will open a criminal case against them, fire them, or dismiss them from their job. Students were given a possibility of revenge if their professor ever failed them. In this case, one can file an anonymous complaint that the professor said during the lecture that war is a bad thing, and the professor will be in trouble. Sometimes I feel, as after graduate school I was teaching here at university, that giving bad grades or lowering them is not the best strategy, because if you're a scientist, the system works in a way that you're evaluated according to different points. According to the number of papers you have written, but another point is that you are a good teacher. And if you are rigorous in your grading, you will get bad grades from students, which can have an impact on your career. If you are interested in studying in the Netherlands, the following are required for enrollment: a school diploma or university degree, a pass in an international English test, a CV, a letter of recommendation, a portfolio, and a motivation letter, in which you should promote yourself appropriately and convince them that you are the person they should accept. To a large extent, it is the motivation letter that influences the admission of students. How well, how originally it is written, and the qualifications. My admission wasn't like that of an ordinary Russian fresh out of school. I know that many Russians aren't admitted to the first year of studies at once. European universities have their protocols when admitting students from Russia and their own vision of Russian education. That is why many Russian students have to do a foundation year. First, they take the foundation year, which prepares them for the bachelor's degree, and then they do the 3 years of the bachelor's degree. Now let's see where to eat in Amsterdam. This is one of my favorite places in Amsterdam. It's called Soep on Zoo. They have several branches all over Amsterdam. They make soups here, 8 or 9 kinds a day. And salads, everything is very fresh and tasty. Are those all creamy soup, or do they look like there are broth-based soups? Once they made borscht, although the pieces of beetroot were huge. I told them not to cook it like that and brought them a normal borscht the next day. I hope they corrected the recipe. Of course, there is plenty of frozen food. We have pizza and bitterballen, which the Dutch like to eat with beer. To explain it shortly, it is bread and batter. Lunch and dinner are over. They usually eat quite early, around noon. I don't get it at all. Flowers here are much cheaper than in Russia. The small bouquet costs 5 euros. Now the selection is very small. For example, this bouquet costs 12.5 euros. Besides hamburgers, supermarkets with ready-made food and the wrong borscht place, here there are many good restaurants with cuisine from different countries. Wow, the food is here. Here are the appetizers. This restaurant is next to the place where we live. At least as far as I know, it's pretty cheap for Amsterdam. Yes, I think it's not that expensive. You can have dinner with 30 or 40 euros per person. That's not considered expensive for a dinner? I wouldn't say it's not expensive. It depends on the level of the place. I think you can find a cheaper place. In all the years you've been here, you haven't learned Dutch. I learned it to the level where I understand it well. Ah, so you understand what they say to you in Dutch? Yes, and I can ask for things, have some simple conversations. But I don't need it in everyday life. Dutch is useful for conversations with my Dutch friends. If their parents don't know much English, but that's rarely the case. Or if I watch a French or a Spanish film, it usually has Dutch subtitles. When interacting with public bodies, sometimes they send me forms to fill in. And sometimes not everything is clear, or sometimes we apply for several subsidies at the same time, and to understand it, all the forms and the conditions, Dutch will certainly be needed. Besides, I was tested once. A film critic gave a speech before the film. I was with my Dutch friends, and as they told me, I laughed at the appropriate moments. What better way to demonstrate my knowledge of Dutch? Just so you understand, even the students at universities, who have been there for a few years, don't speak Dutch. I don't speak it. I've been living here for almost 3 years, and I don't need to. I was studying it before COVID, but after COVID, I went back to Russia. I would resume my studies just to feel better at work. When someone tells a joke in Dutch, I would like to understand it. After lunch and a walk, Artem and I went to see the public spaces of Amsterdam. One of them is the biggest public library in the country. Now we go to the main library, which is located near the central station. There you can learn Dutch or have a good time. It is also a great place to be with children. Is it free? Yes, it's free. It's not only free. I'm telling you, as a Dutch person, anyone can come here. And nowadays, these libraries are common in European cities. This library plays the role of a cultural and social center. There is a spectacular library in Helsinki, which is located near the train station. It is absolutely free. Anyone can enter without anyone checking their passports or address. But the Amsterdam library opened 10 or 12 years ago, so a long time ago. At that time, it was one of the first large libraries of its new format in Europe. It still operates and is open for visits. Like in other libraries, the space is organized by topics. Currently, we are in the media and arts section. A couple of floors up, you'll find politics and theater. Have you encountered any issues here due to your Russian nationality, or have you faced any negative attitudes when someone discovered you were Russian? They usually ask about how they can help me or express sympathy. Once, while playing football, I made a joke with someone. I believe he was from Poland, and he asked me if I had experienced discrimination. I responded, right now, but he didn't realize I was referring to him. Otherwise, people often reassure me that they don't judge me and that they distinguish Russia from its government. When the war began, my friend's parents made delicious vegan brownies for me. Student campuses also have public spaces. One of them is a venue that can be rented for parties for large groups. This is our lounge room. You can rent a space here for free if you want to host a party. Here's the pool table. Here's the cinema where they often screen famous shows. Everyone used to watch Formula 1 here when it premiered. People gather here, but I'm rarely here. Perhaps I don't have enough friends. People can come here to study or relax. This is where Dutch students party. Dutch students celebrate graduation just like students from other European countries. I'm in one of the oldest academic churches called Oude Kerk. Graduation ceremonies for students in my program are held here. The professors will give speeches, and the person with the highest average grade, they're called valedictorian. We will have a musical interlude, and then we will also go out for a drink. After 11 p.m., we'll go to the bars nearby. We'll go on a beer crawl. We've already seen how young people have fun. Now let's find out about the activities of Dutch retirees.
Above 65, you get a kind of pass, and you get you can reduced prices to go to museums, theater, public transport, whatever.
What about traveling? How often do you travel?
Well, that's because this is a new life. We used to travel a lot because of my work also. Because I'm a cultural journalist, so I have to go to Paris and I have to go to London. So always Eric traveled with me. But of course, then the newspaper paid it for me because it was work. So that will be different now. We will not travel as much.
For me.
Yeah. So I paid for his trip, and I got the newspaper paid for mine. But we will go on traveling because traveling in Europe is easy. You know, so for instance, we go this month to Bologna in Italy because there's a film festival that I always have attended, and I want to go on attending that because it interests me. So we will go for a week to Bologna.
Also, pensionados, they go to Spain, for instance.
And stay there for a while because of the nice weather, because it's cold here and rainy.
And the stairs at your house, they look very dangerous.
Dangerous?
Yes.
Why?
You climb because in Russia it's a little different, so it's wider and.
Oh yeah, but this is very Amsterdam, because Amsterdam is built. The houses are very small, not small but narrow, and built in like this vertically, and that's why all so they are kind of. The rooms are on top of each other, and the stairs are mainly very narrow. But we are used to it. So to me, when you say it's dangerous, I think,
no.
What's he talking about? No.
It's okay for old people.
I am old people.
Yeah, but not
Okay, this here next to the right is the park. We can go in here, but we can also go in a little bit further on, because there you have the big country house from the 17th century, and maybe that's nice for you to see.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Hey, Sietske! We moeten gefilmd worden. Dus...
Nee, gaan jullie maar gauw door.
Ja, wel goed dat jullie ons zo treffen.
Famous.
Ja, op de Russische tv. Russisch YouTube kanaal.
The old people have many hobbies. And
They go on their bikes into nature.
Yes.
That's one thing. They watch a lot of television.
Yes, but they built train tracks for the minuet trains. We don't do it, but
No, I
I'm
don't know
talking about
anyone who
other-
makes there's a miniature. I don't know. He's just giving you a caricature of old people. That's not true. They're very busy, most of them. They are healthy because our healthcare is good. So they're healthy and they try to go on living into their old age.
Голландцы очень любят любой день, когда выглядывает солнце. Все голландцы высыпают на улицу, и они
Dutch really enjoy any sunny day. Whenever the sun is out, all Dutch people head outside and set up a bench or a chair near their house.
зашла в автобус со своим стулом. Вот это то, что делают голландцы в солнце.
I remember being surprised once in Russia when I saw a lady getting on the bus with her own chair. That's exactly what the Dutch do on sunny days all across the city. During the pandemic, there was bad weather at some point. But let's say on March 10th, the sun came out for the first time, and all the Dutch people flooded the streets, which led to an increase in infections. So they began painting circles in the parks to mark social distancing. I also
person
learned
who
why
likes
Eric and
cultural-
Joyce prefer
I like
Amsterdam
people,
and
I
don't want
like
to move to the
seeing
suburbs.
people, many people, and I like cultural surroundings. So I want to live in a city where I can go to a museum, a theater, whatever, see films. And in a village you don't have that. In a village you have one cinema, and after you have seen the films that are there, where are you going to go? I like nature, but I can take a train and go walk in the woods. But I don't have to live in the woods.
Joyce was born in Amsterdam, so for her
For me it's
it's the city all the time. I came from Utrecht and Zeist, which are smaller
provincial towns.
provincial towns. So for me, Amsterdam, that was really fantastic because it has all these possibilities, even of drugs, with the red light district, the red light district. If there are no tourists, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because they're beautiful houses, beautiful canals.
In Russia, it's normal when children help their parents. When
Financially.
Yes. They give money, they help with, I don't know, with traveling, because pensions, as I said, in Russia
Are low.
they're very small and you can't have a good life.
So you need to
children
have-
usually help their parents.
So you
It's
need to have a
normal.
lot of children to pay for your old age.
2 or 3, it's okay.
Okay.
So,
Well,
what about Holland?
In Holland it's not usual. I think children are helping parents like parents helping children, but it's not usual. It used to be that every generation got richer after the other, but that's not anymore like that because of the prices of the houses. So we bought this house when it wasn't so expensive anymore. Our daughter has a house, but she will never have as much money as we could get from that house if we would sell it. So she doesn't have to help us, we don't need it. I think she would do it if it
She
would
would
be
do it, yes.
necessary.
But she's
it-
very busy.
The younger generation of Dutch people also tries not to burden the older generation with their problems.
Здесь
Grandparents don't help with the childcare as much as in Russia because they often have their own lives. They volunteer or have other occupations.
бабушки, дедушки,
So they might spend time with the grandchildren one day a week or two.
есть волонтерство,
But it's rare for a grandmother to take over the mother's responsibilities.
мамы. Я практически
So, Giza's parents would rather plant trees in the park than babysit the grandchildren? Yes, her mother teaches Dutch to refugees who arrived here.
язык.
She doesn't help with childcare very often. I'd say she doesn't help at all. I was surprised to learn that the Dutch hire very young babysitters. I mean, a 12-year-old girl from the neighborhood can be a babysitter. It's completely normal.
Нормально. Старшие дети, которые
Even the 12 and 13 years olds of my friends earn money by babysitting.
работают бэйбиситерами. И стоит это
It costs to 8 to 10 euros per hour.
до где-то 10 евро.
Here's our car.
Wow! О, это
Wow, it's an expensive car. It's electric, isn't it? Yes, it's fully electric. You're a prosperous family. A prosperous family doesn't have a Hyundai. I'm pleased to hear that someone from our class has managed to improve their standard of living. This district is considered good, isn't it? Yes, it's a residential district located in the east of Amsterdam. But it's considered a good area, yes. Where's the school? There's one here, and Bar's school is over there. Isn't there access control at the school? For example, in Finland, the school is a public place, anyone can enter. You can even go to the library. No, in fact, we drop the children off near the gates, and they enter the playground by themselves. We're not allowed in there. Are there any security guards? No, the gates are open for half an hour, and parents accompany the children. In the afternoon, the gate is open for another half hour, and the children come out, and we pick them up. Can children come to school alone? They can both come to school and leave the school unaccompanied. The building across from the school is a daycare center. After school, they don't stay on the school premises. If you want your child to attend these classes, you have to pay extra. The classes can vary. There are academic classes or classes focused on sports. There is one nearby where children learn to cook. School starts at 8:30 a.m. and finishes at 3 p.m. So, if you're working, do you need your child to attend another class afterward? What's more, Wednesdays are short days, ending at 12:30. That's the case throughout the Netherlands. But that's in schools, not in parents' workplaces? No, it's in schools. At school, it's a big issue figuring out what to do with the children. Some families hire a nanny, others split the costs, while some parents take turns staying home with the kids. One on Thursdays, another on Wednesdays, for example. Boris takes field hockey lessons. We signed him up for a club where every parent is required to volunteer. If your child attends the club and participates in hockey once a week, you're expected to contribute to the club in some way. There are various ways to help out. For instance, Giza oversees fundraising efforts, and I have to work 2 mornings a year in their cafeteria, selling coffee and croissants to parents.
Круассаны родителям продавать.
Do you have pets here in the Netherlands? It's pricey to own one in the Netherlands. Firstly, there's a tax for dogs or cats. Secondly, veterinary services can be quite expensive. Additionally, if you purchase insurance for your pet, the cover only starts working after a month. You can't go without insurance and then buy it when your pet falls ill. Thus, the costs of upkeep can be significant. There aren't traditional pet stores. Instead, there are animal shelters and farms where you can adopt or acquire a pet for free, such as a puppy, cat, hamster, or parrot. Pets hold great importance for the Dutch, often even more so than their own personal lives. This is supported by the stats. A notable characteristic of the average Dutch person. In the Netherlands, many studies and surveys are conducted, and this time they aim to determine the characteristics of an average Dutch citizen. What do they find? While it's an average, it's still intriguing. So the average Dutch person earns 36,500 euros per year. That may seem low, considering there's just over 2,000 euros left each month after taxes. With this income, it's challenging to rent an apartment in Amsterdam. Consequently, those who desire to live in major cities in high-quality flats are no longer considered average Dutch citizens, but rather more affluent individuals. Interestingly, the average Dutch person does have savings, albeit modest, about 182,000 euros. You can compare them with your savings and see how far they are from the average Dutchman. An average Dutchman spends 1,500 euros a year on fixing up their house and goes to IKEA 3 times a year. Of course, we are interested in intimate details about the Dutch, for example, how many bicycles they own. The average Dutchman has 1.3 bicycles. What does that mean? It means that everyone has 1 bicycle. But many have 2. It's normal in the Netherlands to live in a suburb and have a bicycle to get to the train station, then use another bicycle or other public transport to get to work. Now let's delve into some details. How many times a month does the average Dutchman have sex? Let's ask the experts. Maya, what do you think? She doesn't have a clue. So my friends, how many times do you think the average Dutchman has sex every month? Only about 3 times. 3 times a month, the average Dutchman has sex. And the act lasts... How long do you think it lasts, Maya? 5 minutes and 4 seconds. That's an average sex act. So the Dutch spend a total of 15 minutes a month on sex. And why spend more if you can take care of your pets? Because that's what the Dutch spend 10 minutes a day on. Let's compare. 5 minutes for sex and 10 minutes for petting the cat. While they have sex 3 times a month, they pet the cat every day. That's the Dutch way. Experts say that cats are better than sex. I don't know. At the age of 67, the Dutch start to lose their hair. The average height of a Dutchman is 186 centimeters. They're quite tall, but suffers from obesity, weighing 92.5 kilos. But because he is tall, he's not obese, he's thick-skinned. Yes, he weighs 95 kilos. He's thick-skinned. There was one like that, but he left. He didn't want to be in the shot. But the most interesting thing is that the average Dutchman is satisfied with life at 7.8 points out of 10. They're one of the top 5 happiest countries in the world. In other words, despite all that, the Dutch are happy. Maybe it's because they have 5-minute sex only 3 times a month. Maybe it's because they pet their cats for 10 minutes a day, but the Dutch are content with their Dutch life. Here is a picture of an average Dutchman. Enjoy. Let's see what an average date in the Netherlands is like. The Dutch are very friendly. But for some reason, Dutch women didn't want to go out with me. Maybe because they were confused by the name Artem. Perhaps it's because I'm not tall, and the Dutch are usually tall. I never knew what would happen if I used another name, but I tried dating someone when I came to Moscow. And in Moscow, I got millions of super likes. But maybe it was because I said I was a businessman from Amsterdam. Or maybe not. And on Dutch Tinder, did you say you were an entrepreneur from Russia? I said I was from Siberia, and for some reason it didn't work. So it's better to be an Amsterdam businessman in Moscow than a Siberian in Amsterdam. Apparently so. Dutch girls don't go out with guys as good looking as me. I think it's terrible. It's a problem that isn't discussed here at a local level, but I think it's worth addressing. Discrimination against Siberians. Yes, we're human too. Dutch women seem very independent and always want to split the bill. It can be very budget-friendly if you have a small budget. They don't expect anything special. Everything is usual. We go to a cafe, talk and walk around. In Holland, it's normal for the bill to be split between the two of you, even on the first date. What's more, Dutch women often don't expect the man to pay the bill. And if he does it bother them? No, they just say, thank you, it's kind of you, next time I'll pay for it. You live with a Dutch man. Yes. What's the difference between the Russian and Dutch routines? Well, the Dutch are stingy, that's true. When it comes to heating, they prefer to live in a cold house and wear a jumper. We had a story. Giza and I, when we started living together and rented a flat, we had been together for 5 years already. In winter I was very cold. I would increase the temperature and say, I'm cold. And she would just say, Saha, it's fine, just throw on a jumper. And when our first child was born, I decided to check our heating. A plumber came and said, you don't have the underfloor heating connected. I mean, we lived for 5 years without heating. And during these 5 years, Giza would tell me, it's not cold, it's fine, just put on a jumper. Now it's May, and on May 1st, Giza turned off the heating in the house. It's cold at home, that's why I have a jumper on. But for them, it's very common. They see it not only as saving money, but also as environmental protection. Now the Dutch are saving on gas and switching to green energy. But it wasn't always like that. At the end of the 1950s, a gas field was discovered in the north of the country near the city of Groningen. From then on, there was massive gasification in the Netherlands, with gas sent to farms and houses heated with it. In the early 2000s, the gas reserves started to run out, but that didn't stop the exploiters. Every day, the increased extraction beyond authorized standards, leading to an earthquake in 2012. At that time, Several houses were affected by the tremors. Under pressure from the concerned population, the government reduced activities in Groningen, but in 2018, another earthquake occurred. Now the field is hardly exploited, and the Netherlands has turned from a gas exporter into a major gas consumer. In the past, Russia used to profit a lot by selling gas to the Netherlands. In 2021, the Netherlands paid almost 4 billion euros for Russian gas and coal. After the outbreak of hostilities in Ukraine, they decided to give up Russian gas. The Netherlands refused to pay for the fuel in rubles, as required by the new rules, so the gas giant Gazprom suspended gas supplies here. To reduce dependence on Russia, the authorities want to reduce consumption and switch to renewable sources of energy. In our street and the neighboring one, there is not a single house without solar batteries. Why? Because they are cheap to install and offer significant savings. If your solar batteries generate enough energy and feed it back into the grid, you receive money for the kilowatts you didn't use but that your solar battery generated. Here is the meter, and this is where all our solar energy goes into. Green energy is very popular here. Before we had the solar panels, we're still only buying green energy. That's wind energy, solar energy, and so on. Can you choose which energy you buy? Of course you can. When it comes to choosing your electricity supplier, there are a few providers, there are many options, yes. We chose one that works only with green energy. The Dutch are very thrifty with water and electricity. Especially in light of recent events, they do it to protest against Putin. They save gas. Once my friend called me and said, Artem, I saw the news and turned off the gas to hurt Putin. It was April 17th and I was on the balcony. It was so hot that I turned off the heating too. But it wasn't to stop Putin.
It's very cold, Geza. Why it's so cold in your house?
Why is it cold in my house?
Yeah, what's the problem?
There's not a problem. Problem is that
You have no heating here, no?
we have heating.
Why?
Here,
What?
here in the floor.
You turn it off?
I turn it off. Yeah.
Why?
Because it's very expensive.
Because I come here.
And I know that Russian people like very warm house so, to rest you. No, I think everybody in the Netherlands when I know like in April you switch off the.
But it's
heating
still
system.
cold outside.
Yeah, then you wear extra sweater.
How much do you earn? We earn a bit more than average. How much is it a month? A little more than average. But what's the average like? The average salary in the Netherlands is 2,500 to 3,000 euros, and we earn a bit more. And you save 200 euros on guests? Yes. I'm already here hopping from one food to the other because I'm about to freeze. It's not because of the guests, it's a lifestyle and a mindset. We pay around 300 euros for electricity, and we pay around 180 to 200 for heating, for gas. Now they say Europeans can pay the bills, they are outraged by the rising prices. Did this have an impact on you? Yes, you can really feel it, but it started in December. When I got my bill for December-January, I thought it can't be for just 2 or 3 months, because it was much higher than it usually is.
And what about parking? Residential parking, is it free for you?
No.
No?
No.
How much it costs?
I think it's also like 300 euro per year.
300? It's not
For a year, yeah.
for a year. It's
for
not
out-
expensive.
Just for outside parking.
It's the same as in Moscow. It's about $100
Yeah, yeah,
in a year.
yeah. But,
So-
but only in the like in
Yes,
the,
yes.
in the street, basically. Yeah.
In
The
your
same.
area,
Yeah.
in the street, in your area.
Yeah.
Yes.
We go to the center, we need to pay.
Да.
One car park is for cars, another one is for scooters, all marked. And the biggest one is for bicycles. Here you can see the transport ratio. Now let's see how much a parking costs. I'm a bit afraid to go near this counter. By the way, lately there are a lot of electric car parks. Here is the post to pay for the parking. The price will appear here. 7.5 euros per hour. It's not very clear. But it costs 7.5 euros per hour to park your car in the center of Amsterdam. It is one of the most expensive car parks in the world. The cycle traffic on one side of one of the canals is organized in an interesting way. Normally, on this side they go in this direction, and on the other side they go in the opposite direction. But here they set up double traffic for cyclists. At the same time, cyclists share the road in the same direction with cars. And cyclists going in the opposite direction and have the lane closest to the water. All of that is divided with parking. It is a weird decision because pedestrians want to get closer to the water. And there's a bike lane here. They shouldn't do that. It would be better to make a pavement here, so people can go and see the water. That's why there is a permanent conflict between cyclists and pedestrians here. Cyclists use this lane, and people bother them. Even the Dutch sometimes make mistakes. There are no perfect cycle paths. The Netherlands is the most cyclist-friendly country in the world. According to the local Institute for Transport Policy Analysis, cycling isn't anywhere near as popular in other places as it is here. Dutch make more than a quarter of all journeys by bicycle. There's a whole infrastructure for cycling here, which connects not only streets, but entire cities. There are more bicycles than people here. In 2018, 17 million Dutch people had around 23 million bicycles. The people I spoke to confirmed this. They all like bicycles and are used to riding them every day. But they all complain that bicycles are frequently stolen here. According to the researchers, 600 million euros worth of bicycles were stolen here in 2019. Tell me about this bike. It's the bike I bought because I got tired of it being stolen all the time. I've had 5 bicycles stolen. Sometimes they stole them because I don't like to lock them. Normally there are 2 locks, one here. Yes, it locks the back wheel. And the other one is when you lock it to a rail or something. But I don't like to lock it. My life motto is, I'll be lucky, everything will be okay, the world is safe. How many years did you have 5 bikes stolen in? In about 10 years. In 10 years you had 5 bikes stolen? Yes. Well, it turned out that not all of them were stolen. Once I left my bike in the square near the train station. 3 years later, when I didn't see my bike again, I found out that they take them to a special parking. It is a way of clearing the space around the square so that there aren't too many bicycles. If you arrive on time, maximum 3 weeks later, you can pick up your bike with a fine. But the first time that happened to me, I didn't know that. And maybe now someone uses it because they sell them at auction afterward. Dutch students have a tradition of throwing their bikes into the canals. I think that when my sea disappeared, something like that happened. It was very loud that night. A Dutchman told me the following story. He follows the principle of making it difficult to steal the bicycle when you park it. For example, everybody locks it with 2 locks and you lock it with 3.
How many bikes do we
One for each. So one for her, one for me, and the kids.
4 bikes.
Yeah.
4 bikes.
4 велосипеда.
And you have to buy a new one, find a new one every year, because one gets stolen every year.
We have a car, but we will get rid of it because I used it for my job, but we mainly will go by train when we go to another city. And then and we use the bike. We both have a bicycle.
Amsterdam, it's the way to go around.
Yeah.
So both of you use bikes?
Yes.
We have bikes.
All year?
Always,
All
yes.
year, yes.
Also in the winter.
In the winter too.
Yeah,
only
in the
when
bad
it
weather,
only yeah
when
bad
it's
weather.
snow, when it's rain.
When there's rain, we have the huge capes.
In what situation you use bikes for?
When I go to see
shopping.
someone
Short
for
distance.
no, well, to go into town, we use bikes.
So 10 kilometers. You
Yeah.
In Holland, you can rent so-called backfeets, bicycles with a box on the front. We use them to transport children, food and animals. They are electric bicycles. You have to download a mobile app, register your credit card or Apple Pay, and it shows you where the closest bikes are located. For example, around us we have 3 bikes like that, which is quite a lot. So I can take my suitcase, put it in this box and go to the airport by bike. Yes, but parking it there will be very expensive. You can tell that we live in a family-friendly district because it's equipped with a Maxi Cozy, a child seat. How much does this bike cost? I think about 1,500 to 2,000 euros. They are nice. But I would be upset if such a bike were stolen. On the other hand, you can buy bike insurance. Yes, that's true. That way, it's not so bad if it gets stolen. But the unpleasant thing about this situation is losing a belonging of yours, as with any theft. In general, since 2005, the number of thefts has been gradually decreasing. The police here are responsible for maintaining order, and Dutch people tend to trust them. However, there are often scandals involving in the police here. For example, in January 2022, during an unauthorized demonstration against coronavirus restrictions, Dutch police officers used force against one of them demonstrators and set dogs on him. The police have also been blamed for being racist. If a stranger knocks on the door, are you going to open it? No. What if he says he's a policeman? Then I would open the door. So it's easy to gain access to your house, just by saying you're a policeman. If I knock and I say I'm a policeman, will you open the door? Yeah. It took me a while to get used to the fact that the police are not dangerous. But for a while, I would cross to the other side of the street when I saw the police. Once I was at a documentary film festival where a person of Moroccan origin, a sociology professor who studies Dutch society, and commented on the discrimination against Moroccans and how the police are biased against them.
Про дискриминацию, наверное, марокканцев, соответственно, и про то, как полиция к ним более предвзято относится.
In the Netherlands, the police can come to your house if you don't recycle your rubbish properly. Once I received a parcel, I think it was a TV box or something like that. And I was too lazy to call the special rubbish services, so I just put the box near the bin. But my name and address were on the box. The next day, 2 policemen knocked on my door. They asked if I was Alexandra, and I confirmed it. They also asked if the box was mine, and I confirmed that too. They fined me 90 euros. I pay about 200 to 300 euros a year for the rubbish tax. And it doesn't depend on whether you recycle it or not. No, it doesn't. To avoid paying the rubbish tax, the Dutch leave something next to the bin and write that anyone can take it away. So, if you want to throw away your old sofa, you have 2 options. Pay for it to be taken away, or put up a sign saying, "I give you my sofa." And in this way, you help your entire neighborhood. Amsterdam, like the whole of the Netherlands, has very high house prices. According to the Central Bureau of Statistics, the average price of a house in April 2022 was 429,000 euros. The rate of increase in house prices over the last 3 months of 2021 ranks 5th in the entire European Union. Sometimes the mortgage is more advantageous than rent in the Netherlands. Banks charge a low interest rate, so the monthly payment is not so high. For example, I found a house for sale with 3 bedrooms in an okay neighborhood of Amsterdam for 450,000 euros. On the same page, I calculated the monthly payment. With a 3% interest rate, the monthly payment is just over 2,000 euros. For comparison, I found a flat for rent near this house. It costs 1,800 euros per month. So renting and buying have similar costs. Now let's compare how much my friends pay for their houses and flats. Tell me about this flat. The story goes like this. During the pandemic, I had to move out suddenly because the landlady wanted to sell the flat I was living in. Usually people who rent flats in the Netherlands have good rights. You can't just ask them to move out. But I decided to help her. So I started looking for the flat. I haven't lived in this district. It's called the Pijp, and I wanted to try. When I walked into this flat, I really liked it. The owner said he's interested in design, and he designed everything himself. How much do you pay for this flat? I pay about 2,200 euros. With gas and internet included, but lately gas has become very expensive. So I don't know how much it will end up costing. Is it Putin's gas? Yes, it's Putin gas itself. I've lived in different flats before. On one hand, it's great to live in a house with a Dutch facade and to climb up the staircase. But on the other hand, they're often old buildings. In the previous flat, I had a cast iron oven in the middle of the flat, and the heating was done by diffusion around it. There were ashes on the walls. Here, I have underfloor heating. So on one hand, it's nice to walk on, and on the other hand, if I turn it on, it heats up very slowly and it gets very hot when it does. So my neighbor and I are always opening the balcony door. Because you can't find this balance between hot and cold. I really like the kitchen. There's a lot of space and it's nice to cook here. We have an oven and a dishwasher. Is a dishwasher uncommon in Dutch flats? Maybe it's not, but at some point I didn't have it in my life and nor did my friends. It means a lot to me because after moving, it's the first flat with a dishwasher where I live. That's why it's a great moment for me. Buying a house in a good area also costs a lot, but some people were lucky enough to buy when prices were still low.
Okay, what about your house?
Well, we own this house and we bought this in a very long ago, so this is our house, we don't have to pay rent, so we are not living here for free now, but it has been paid. But now houses are much more expensive. Young people are not able anymore to buy a house, only the rich ones. And we are not rich, we never have been, but when we were young we bought this house and then it was relatively cheap. I think we pay 600 a month, inclusive the onderhoud.
600?
Yeah, around more or less. And also we have to pay taxes on it, but that's on a yearly basis.
Tax of yes, how much the house, the value of the house.
You pay taxes
on it.
And because it's very valuable, we pay a lot of tax for the house.
And some people, like Sasha and her husband, paid a fortune for their house.
It's your own house, or you rent it?
Yeah, we own the house. Yeah. So this is I think like 190 square meters. It's a house from 1929, so it's quite old. And we kind of, this is all, we done it up 3 years ago, so we lived here for 3 years.
So this is our house. We already mentioned how big it is. This is my parents' bedroom. Ah, so the first thing you show is where your parents sleep. Here's the garden. Here's where we eat. This is our bedroom. This is where my dad works. Does your dad work in your bedroom? Yes, he does. I love reading, so I have many books here. There's another room. Whose room is it? It's also ours. We've already seen an expensive house. Now let's see how students live and how much they pay for residence. Now we're just entering the ground floor of the campus. The ground floor is called a Planta O in the Netherlands. Elevators often don't work, but today we're lucky. I once got stuck here before. I never got stuck in an elevator before then. It was scary. We have magnetic keys, which I've lost about 300 times. I had to pay for a new one each time I lost it. To the right is my kitchen. The equipment extractor and the cooker are here. It's not a gas cooker. Most of the furniture was already here, except for the shelf, for example. Students often decorate themselves. Here I have a poster and some plants. I have a perfect view from here. It overlooks our garden. I love how green it is. There's a construction work in the back, but we focus on the positive, the garden. There's a bed here with lots of storage underneath. It's a great space for storing things like suitcases. There are also some suitcases and clothes here. The best part of my bedroom is the bathroom. There are a lot of space. It's very clean and there's a huge mirror. The shower has issues with water pressure, but maintenance come quickly to fix it. But there are always people happy to help. We have a portal where you can report faults and someone comes to fix them between 2 weeks. You can choose how urgent the fault is. For example, if your tap doesn't work or you can't flush the water, it's more urgent than some other problems. The university accommodates non-EU students first in these halls of residence because it's harder for them to find housing. The biggest part of the costs is rent. It's challenging to find housing, especially in Amsterdam. I was on the waiting list for this house for 2 years. International students have an advantage. The university helps them find accommodation. So if you're a non-EU student, the uni offers you accommodation. You select the desired price range and they give you housing for the first year. But then you have to find housing for subsequent years yourself. The place where I live costs 832 euros per month. My friends who rent rooms pay almost the same. But I have my own kitchen and my own bathroom, which I don't have to share with anyone, and I'm very happy about that. Here is the laundry. Washing costs 3 euros and drying costs 2 euros. So you have to accumulate and then wash everything together. The washing machines are huge here, so it's easier to wash when you have a lot of stuff. We have the washing machines down here and the dryers are up here. In here you can pay by credit card for washing or drying. By the way, we have our own dentist clinic. But if you need urgent help, like me, who has problems with my jaw, I found an excellent orthodontist at the ACTA Institute. It's an institute of my university and the other big university in the city, Vrije. They have a huge center with 1 million floors where you can have treatment. The Netherlands is a comfortable country to live in. Visitors to the country take a while to get used to many taxes, health insurance, unheated houses and love of bicycles. On the other hand, all the people I talk to have been here for a long time and do not plan to go anywhere else. Maybe after watching this video, you will also want to pack your bags and move to Amsterdam.
We can go on together with suspicious minds, and we can build our dreams on suspicious minds.
Вот такая вот замечательная страна Нидерланды.
This is what a wonderful country Holland is. It is unfortunate that many associate it with marijuana, the red light district and gay pride parades. In reality, the Netherlands has a very high standard of living, modern architecture, an accessible urban environment and great public transport. I hope I have been able to show you a different picture of the Netherlands. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you like what my team and I are doing, you can support us by subscribing to Patreon. All links will be in the description. Bye everyone. Just one more thing, friends. YouTube works in a way that if you don't like, share or comment on the video, it's going to think you're not interested. And if you're not interested, it won't show it to other people either. So don't let YouTube down. Subscribe to our channel and our social networks to learn more about other places on the planet. Hit the bell button so you don't miss new videos and share them with your friends on WhatsApp and Reddit.